everyone, and welcome to Bending the Narrative here on the Aspect Network. I'm one of your hosts, Kate Cronquist, and joining me every week to discuss the latest and greatest in the world of Avatar is Alex Batts. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Super excited to talk about this episode. This is a big one, big fan favorite.
Mm.
As Kate mentioned, we're continuing our journey and we're talking about The Blue Spirit, one of the most infamous episodes of the first season. And to be honest, it's one of the biggest of the whole series. It's got a lot of crucial stuff in there. So to start this week, like every week, we'll be taking a look at the Avatar world map to track Team Avatar's journey. So here we've made a pretty decent like jump from where we were last time, kind of. I mean, we've gotten north a little bit, so we're still slowly making our way up towards the Northern Water Tribe. They go a little east this time. Um, but yeah, it's cool. We're next to this peninsula, we think. We were
We
discussing
think it's a
this
peninsula.
at length, talking about geographic features and seeing, and it does appear to be a peninsula that they're right
If we
next
are
to.
wrong, please tell us.
Yeah, geography nerds, let us know in the comments if we're if it's not. But yeah, we think they're slightly to the east of a peninsula.
Mhm.
Honestly, I keep on the like landscape of the world map is so wild. Like there are so many different features and things. Honestly, so close. Like
It's very
we're not
cool.
that far north from the Great Divide, which was a desert Grand Canyon, and now we have like mountains with frozen frogs in them.
Yeah, and snow. Like there's a snowy mountain next to this, and then on the other side is a volcano.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah, because they get to the volcano soon, which is yeah, there's a lot going on this world map, which I
hey,
like.
it's a fictional world. We can give it a break.
They can bend the elements, so I guess it's
I
fine.
guess it's possible.
But yeah, so they moved a little bit. They're
We
they're
moved a little bit.
slowly but surely making their way up, which is, it's good. They'll
Yeah,
get there
we're a little bit
eventually.
around here. We get a little stuck here in this area, but at the
Yeah, it's kind of
Pu
it,
Pu Huai stronghold, that's apparently what it's called. If I
okay.
probably butchered that name
That no, I mean that makes sense.
entirely.
I could not remember the name of the stronghold. It's like a big.
I
I
don't think
love
it's named an
how
episode.
no, it's not. And I was like, because I was listening and
Mm-hmm.
they're like trying to see if it did, and they
Mm-hmm.
never say the name of it. Because I'm pretty sure they do in the live action show, like name the stronghold, because they make a big deal about how
Oh,
like impregnable it's supposed to be, and how it's
yeah.
this like super like guarded fortress. And it's funny because in the animation, like I love how much just open space there is in it because you've got like the four or five different walls and like sections in it, and obviously they're not going to animate everything in the middle, so like
Yeah.
it's just like a lot of big spaces, but
There's just walls
um
and nothing.
yeah, it's just walls and then like some troops. But yeah, it's cool, it's fun stuff, it's good.
It's very cool. And, as Alex said, this week we are encountering the Blue Spirit with this
Hmm.
episode. And this episode is directed by Dave Filoni and written by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. And if you are just joining us, we will be discussing the show in its totality, so do be warned about spoilers. Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah, so this episode opens and we get a falcon screeching, carrying a letter to the Fire Nation post, the big fortress we were just talking about. Which is funny, I just noticed actually, like reading through like our summary and going through this, like we open with that bird bringing a letter, but then we don't really see what that one says. And then, or I guess that's the hunt for the Avatar one, and then we get another letter like 2 minutes later that's brought in,
Oh, yeah, like
which
that's not the letter, the main letter that
yeah.
changes the plot.
It's just like an opening, like we need a cool animation thing to bring us into the story, which like works. It does a good job.
I'll give
Um,
that to them. I'll let them have that one.
yeah, so we get there, we see these archers, which one of them does the classic like shooting an arrow into a target and then shooting another arrow into that arrow, and
So
then we
good.
do we get a third one, which like that always will just work. You're like, oh man, they're good.
That trope, I'm like, they're cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stuff
it's
go
great.
boom.
Yeah, it's a
It's
classic.
like,
It's the muted version of Stuff Go Boom. It's like yeah, like okay.
yeah, like that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so we get that. We learn that they are the Yu Yan archers. We have at the time Lieutenant Zhao, who is talking to
Hmm.
Colonel Shinu, and Zhao is like, "Give me the archers. Like, I need them for to hunt the Avatar." And the Colonel is like, "Nah, screw you. Like, these are my guys. They're staying where I want them." And then we get the letter that does change the plot, which goes to the Colonel first, and he reads it and is like, damn. And it's Zhao being
Hmm.
promoted to admiral. And he's like, all right, well, that request is now in order. And I literally, I looked it up before we were recording because I was like, oh, he skips like a couple of ranks here. I don't know how many ranks he
Hmm.
skips because like I Googled it and just the list that I found
Yeah,
says
because I
like
don't know the
lieutenant.
ranks or.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes like lieutenant, colonel, general, and like corporal. I don't even see admiral on this list anywhere. Like it's straight. It's
Oh.
just not here. So,
Oh.
bro, just skips like 50 ranks or something. Like I like he just leapfrogs over it and is like, all right, well, like you work for
Zhao's
me
like
now.
you're in boss mode now. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool. Love that
I mean,
for
it's
him.
Jason Isaacs. He can get away with anything. I'll be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you run the world. Yeah.
It's also funny because I didn't really think about it too much until we started doing this rewatch, but because like he just is Admiral Zhao whenever you think about it in hindsight. Like if you've seen the series,
Yeah.
like you're like, oh, and like I forgot that he was like pretty low on the like
In the beginning.
corporate like the the rungs that
Ladder.
yeah, like he
Hmm.
wasn't Admiral Zhao until now. Which is cool. And so he's like, yeah, that request is now in order, which is a great line. And then
Baller.
we like get to see we pan up and there's a blue masked guy at the top who's like looking down at them being all
Hmm.
mysterious and stuff. And so we'll learn this is the blue spirit, obviously the
Hmm.
titular blue spirit. So we get that, which is cool. I really like the
And I
way
love
that
like
they Mhm.
I was just gonna say the musical cue. Like I love the
Oh,
musical cue that plays every time we see him.
yeah.
I don't know what instrument that is. I couldn't figure that out.
I'm not sure. I did not pay that much attention to it. I just know it was cool,
Nice.
but like but yeah, I was gonna say I love how they and it comes back in with a shot later too, but they film the blue spirit almost like a horror monster. Like he's
Yes.
got
Yes.
a very like he's supposed to be frightening and like intimate until obviously he starts working with the avatar, but like definitely for
Yeah.
the majority or at least half of the episode you're like this dude does not seem good. Like
You're like,
he
what
just
is this? Like he's scary. He's always
mhm.
hidden. There's
Yeah,
the
it's
creepy
really cool.
musical cue. Yeah.
Love to
It
see it.
sounds like it's there's like these guitar and they're not guitars. I forget what it's called, but in Japan it's like a pick and there's it's like a guitar with three strings. And
Mhm.
I think it's that noise with some like other
Some stuff going
instruments.
on.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good though. It always works. So
I'm
we
glad
then
I
cut to the gang in an abandoned temple, and Sokka is extremely sick from being out in the storm from the previous episode. And so
love
that
that
happens.
continuity.
Yeah, I did definitely.
That's
I was like, oh,
cool.
this is cool. I like seeing that. The repercussions of his actions. Um, so we get that, and then they're like taking care of him, and then Katara starts coughing, and she's like, "Oh no, it'll be fine." And Aang's like, "This is exactly how Sokka was yesterday. Like, you're not
That's
gonna be fine."
right.
And so he goes to find an herbalist. I love how he goes to fly away at first, but then there's a storm, and he's like, "Oh, walk," and then dude just turns
Hmm.
into the Flash. Like, I don't, I,
I we've never seen him do that before.
and I
That,
don't,
but I love how it's just like, no, he could do that.
yeah, and I feel like they don't really do it that much the rest of the show either that I can
Yeah.
remember. Like he just and they make a joke about it. Like there's a bit in this episode later on whenever he's like getting closer to the herbalist on the mountain and
Mhm.
they're like looking out for the avatar and they're like reading reports or whatever and it's like the fire lord says that he can move faster than the wind or whatever and they're like that can't be true. And then he like blows past and like
Immediately
the
does
entire
it. Yeah.
yeah, and like the whole thing gets like destroyed. And so like I liked that they made a bit about him like confirming that he can do that, but yeah, we never saw that before, and he just can run ridiculously quickly. Like so that's
And I don't
fun.
know how that has to do with airbending. I don't
I
know.
guess he just like uses the air to propel himself. I
Like a
guess like that'd be
Naruto
my
kind of
guess. Like
run.
he's just like
Yeah.
giving himself like running with the wind.
Riding with the
I
wind.
guess yeah, but like it's
I'll
cool.
believe
So
it.
he
I'll
gets
let them again. There's a lot of things in the show where I'm like, you know what? You've earned it. You get this one. That's a free
yeah.
pass.
I just think it's funny that it doesn't really like show up that much later. Like
I
at
know
least
it's
not that
pretty
I can
useful. Is it?
remember.
I guess because flying is faster.
Yeah, that would make sense. Um, so yeah, we get him like going off to get the to get the medicine, and
Yeah,
then
we're
we
not
cut
going
to
to think about it too
Zuko
much.
on his ship with his crew. We get a big ship arriving next to them. Zuko is told that the hunt for the Avatar has been moved to the prime importance, and then all info must go directly
Mm.
to Admiral Zhao. Um, Zhao won't let their ship leave, and Zuko's yells at them to get off of his ship because obviously he's now pissed because he wants to be the one to find the Avatar to restore his
Hmm.
honor and everything that he's fighting for. Um, so that's good.
I do love
We
how
see,
like princely he is too about it. He's like, "Get off my ship," like a teenage boy, like, "Out of
yeah,
my room, mom." Oh my god. So dramatic.
he's so offended, honestly.
He's so
Um,
offended.
so Iroh wins the game of Pai Shao and is taking on the chips. I love Iroh just constantly being like just not caring. Not that he doesn't care, but just like
Mhm.
so much more lax and is like, I'm just having a good time if I
He's
can.
like,
Like,
Zuko, like everything will fall into place. It's okay. He's like,
yeah.
he just kind of lets everything happen. It's like he's almost a character where you think he knows everything that's about to happen because
Hmm.
he's so calm all the time.
Yeah, he's just not worried about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get that. We get Zuko looking out of the window, being moody as always. Love that. Um, so this is when we come back to the two guards I mentioned a minute ago at the outpost, talking about
Hmm.
the Fire Lord propaganda and talking about Aang, and he flies past them, runs past them very quickly, and then they blow a siren. We cut back to Sokka and Katara. They're now both very, very sick, just laying
Mm.
on Appa, which is so cute. I can't
So
imagine how
cute.
great of a bed he is.
Oh
Like,
my god, he looks so. There's like a multiple points in this episode where I'm like, Papa is so cute.
he looks so
Like he just
comfy.
gets cuter. He looks so comfy.
So that we get that she is trying to get Momo to go get them water, and I love that we get Momo's like perspective on on saying it.
This is my
It's just
favorite.
it's like we get the fisheye lens type like distortion from his eyes and like her
Mhm.
doing miming and like it's just gibberish and he's like, all right, I'll go get something.
I love it. She's
Which
like
is
water, Momo, and then from his point of view, she's like wah, 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 wah,
it's
wah.
like the Charlie Brown teacher, yeah.
The Charlie Brown teacher.
So he
It's so cute.
takes the satchel, takes off. We get back to Aang. He gets to the herbalist place. Um, there's a white cat here, and you noted it
Mm.
too. That I don't think he's. I mean, aside from the fact that he has a beard,
I
which
think
is
it's just a
really
cat.
funny. Yeah, he just looks like a normal cat. Like I was trying to imagine if he's a cross with any other animal, but it doesn't
It
seem
doesn't
to be
seem like
that way.
it.
Like he's
And I
just
noticed too, like, because they make a point. This is in like two seasons. This is in the third season. That a wonder of the world is that there's just a bear. That's not a cross between anything. It's just a regular bear.
mm,
It's like a joke because every animal here is a cross between other animals.
yeah.
So I wonder,
It's like
is it like weird that it's just a cat?
I was trying to think. We didn't get a clear enough look at it, but the bird at the beginning, I was trying to figure out what two animals it was.
Oh, probably like a
But I
falcon and
couldn't.
a hawk.
Yeah, I just couldn't because like we only really see it from the back. I think like I couldn't see its
Mhm.
face, and so I was like, I don't know what it is, but yeah, we just get a cat.
Ooh,
This lady just has
I
a
didn't think
cat with a
about that.
beard,
Yeah.
which is
What's his
really like it.
name? Miyuki? Miyaki? Miyuki.
Yeah, which is he's cute
But
though.
he's like mischievous. He's a little,
Mhm.
yeah, he gets
It's
into
funny
trouble.
we get him in later episodes too, which is really cool. I like the way that it kind of ties back. But yeah, so
They do come
we get there.
back.
She's just chilling. She's like being the typical like just going about her business and like doing
Hmm.
things at her pace and being kind of weird and eccentric. And there's just her and her cat, and she's taking a long time. And Aang is getting very impatient because he's like, "Hey, I need this like medicine for my friends." And we cut back to Zuko, who is very angrily firebending on the shit. Like he's just
I
being
love this.
again the most dramatic. Like I love how quickly his like attacks in the fight. Like he does like 10 different like outbursts of fire in like 2 seconds. Like
He does. It's like one out of his foot, out of his hand, and like, does he do one out of his mouth? I think he always does one out of his mouth when he's super
y-
angry, which I love.
it's he's bro is literally just venting,
He's
which
just
is
venting,
which is great.
literally.
Um, so Iroh's talking about how he hasn't given any of the men an order in over an hour, and Zuko says he doesn't care what they do. Um, Iroh is like, you can still find the Avatar before Zhao. Um, Zuko's like, Zhao has all the resources. He's definitely gonna find him. Like his honor, his throne, and his country is like gonna be lost to him. Which I think it's really interesting that he still is emphasizing, especially the throne in this point. Like the fact that he very
Mm,
much is like, that's my birthright type stuff.
yeah.
Like, okay, Zuko, not the
Yeah, he does want
best.
that. Yeah, does he? Hmm.
um, so that's
Anyway, I do love
interesting.
too how just a small thing, how Zuko's kind of throwing a fit, and Iroh knows immediately like what it's actually about.
Yeah,
Like Iroh knows, like he's like, I know you're throwing a fit because of this,
yeah,
and it just shows how much he knows him and how
yeah. And like,
like deeply how deep their relationship is.
yeah, Iroh will always know what he needs to, like, what Zuko actually needs, and like what can
Hmm.
really help him, which is great. We get back to the herb lady who's slowly making medicine. Aang is trying to rush and grab the thing, and she's like, "No, this isn't even what you needed." Like,
It was the Gads dinner.
yeah, like, come on, what are you doing? And so she says that he needs the frozen wood frogs from the swamp, and that his friends can suck on those to get better. And apparently, their skin like secretes a substance that will cure the illness, which is
Yeah,
disgusting and wild. I also love that
rightfully,
there's
rightfully so.
just like frozen frogs in the swamp. Like that's a super. This climate again is very
This climate, I'm a little bit confused on the climate. Yeah,
like, how are these frogs in the swamp water and frozen? I don't particularly understand,
don't know
but
how it's that cold because then it's warm over. But whatever,
yeah, sure, we'll go for it.
we'll
So
go for
Aang
it.
leaves and is taken down by arrows, and we get a cool action sequence with him like trying to get away from the Yu Yan archers and stuff, and he's getting the frogs as he's being attacked and like puts them in his tunic and stuff. Um, yeah, so he gets apprehended by the archers, which is really, that's a big bummer.
I was a little bit like I don't know if I believe this him being taken down by arrows, but I guess with a
Yeah,
net like he was captured in a net before, right, with the pirates.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess a net is like his worst enemy.
What do
That's,
you?
they
Well, I mean, I
got him
get
there.
like I get that the whole thing is they're like immobilizing his limbs so that he can't bend, and like he
Mm.
gets overwhelmed super quickly in it, and like there's a lot of them, so like I guess I get it, but then some of the stuff we see him do next episode, I'm like, you could have
Uh
probably,
huh.
you could have
Okay.
probably done something. Like,
Yeah. I'll
you
believe
could
it for
have.
the plot.
Yeah, like all right, I guess so. Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
captured. He wakes up in the Fire Nation prison. We see both of his hands are chained to pillars, his feet are chained. um and we don't know, he can't do anything now, he's just stuck. Zhao comes in and starts mocking him, gets some great villain dialogue.
Oh my God, this is
um
so like, I was like, he's going for it. He was like, don't you miss your people? And how does it feel to be the only one left? I was like, shit, oh my God.
yeah,
He's
he's
going
mean. He's
for the jugular. Like, oh my
yeah,
God.
he's real mean right here, and he's like, "Don't worry, like I'm not gonna kill you like them." Because I also love this point, and like it is really smart. And he's like, "If we just kill you, you'll just reincarnate, and then we have to find
In the
you again."
cycle, yeah.
Like he's like, "That would be dumb." So yeah, you'll be alive still. Like we're just gonna keep you prisoner forever. I'm
He
like,
was
oh,
like, we'll keep
that's
you
a
alive, barely. I was like, oh my
that's a
God.
big bummer. Like, come on. And then of
For
course
a
he's
kid
like,
show,
"There's."
I was like, they're going hard with that.
Yeah, and then he's like, "There's no way to escape, and no one is coming to save you," which obviously means that someone's coming to save him.
Which obviously we all know how TV works.
We love foreshadowing, love to see it. So we do that. We get back to Sokka and Katara. They're delirious. Momo is
Mhm.
bringing them dead rats at this point, and she's like, "No, we need water. Thanks,
Water,
though."
water.
And they're like, "What is taking Aang so long?" It's like, "Oh, your boy's been captured, actually." Um, so we get back to Aang and the camera panning to the forest outside, and we see the blue spirit again heading in the
Mhm.
bushes, which I love the zoom ins here. We just get like the
It's so
cut zooms,
good.
like they're just
Yeah.
like further and then closer and then closer. And
It's
I'm like,
so
oh,
ominous
yeah,
and
it's great.
it's scary. It's honestly, I'm like chilling for a kid show. I was like, that's really good.
Yeah, it's
Like, and
it's
the
amazing.
music too, the music cue, like the dun, dun,
Done.
dun. I was like,
Yeah,
ooh.
they crush it there, honestly. Great setup, direction, all of it is really good. So we get that, and then we get the blue spirit infiltrating the prison. He gets like under the cart and then
Mhm.
around, and then he sneaks around the tower, gets into the thing.
Oh, I
Zhao
love
comes
how
out.
too there's a small thing when he's like under the cart and they pan over and they're about to check under, and then as soon as they pan over, he's gone. It's a
Mhm.
small trope, but I love that in movies. It's
Oh
so random.
yeah,
Every
where
time
you're
that
like,
pops up,
oh,
I'm like, yeah.
He's
Like,
under
oh, they're
there, and
gonna
then
find him, and then they pan back and he's gone. And you're like, where did he go?
it just always works. It's just
It
like there's
always
a reason
works.
it's a
I'll eat
trope.
it up.
Like it's
Yeah.
good. So yeah, we get that. We get him infiltrating, and then as he's infiltrating, we get Zhao speaking to the army like he's Hitler.
It was
This
very
is
Hitler-like. I was like,
yeah,
okay,
this whole thing is very not subtle. In case you didn't know that the Fire Nation were the bad guys here,
we're the bad
like,
guys. Yeah, where they took
yeah,
inspiration from.
he's like we've got the Avatar, like we've won. Sozin's Comet is coming this year again. Like we'll break through Bossing
Hmm.
Say.
I do
All
like
of
how
the
they're
good,
bringing that back in too. They're like, hey, by
yeah,
the
it's a
way,
good.
there is a long
rem-
game in this
yeah, it's a good
series.
reminder of like where we're at time wise, and he's like, yeah, like this is stuff's happening, and it's
Hmm.
important. So yeah, we get the big villain speech while the Blue Spirit is infiltrating. I love that, and we cut back to Aang inside, and he's imprisoned, and we get the frogs defrosting, and they start to jump out. I love. I don't know if you noticed this, but like they crawl differently depending on which parts of them
Part
have
of them is
defrosted.
defrosted.
Like,
I made a comment that they crawl kind of zombie-like, and they're
yeah, they
like,
do.
you know, when their like legs don't work and they just crawl with their
With
hands.
the
I
front,
love
yeah, like there
that.
was a couple, like one where his front legs were defrosted and his back weren't, and he's crawling like that, and another one his back legs were defrosted and his front weren't, and so he's like scooting forward with his back legs, and then
There's
like
like
some of
one
them are
with like
like
only one
the right.
hand, and I was like, it's kind of scary. There's
It's
a lot of
tough.
like creepy elements in this episode, and I really like it.
Yeah,
You mentioned before, it kind of takes after horror movies, and they use a
yeah,
lot of horror movie tactics in it. And I was like, it's cool.
yeah, and I mean
It
like
works
even
really
with
well for this.
the Blue Spirit like infiltrating the guards around the corners and stuff, like you have the one guard go around the corner and like you don't see him get taken out,
Yes,
and then you like round the corner and he's like hanging front, like, which obviously is not around the neck because that would be a lot for a kid's show, but like
that's
he's still
yeah.
like he's like he's dead. It's still the same
They're keeping it
vibe though.
PG. Yeah.
um and so yeah, like that's great. We get him doing that. He uses water to get I also like that he does not use firebending the whole
At
time because
all.
he doesn't
Yeah.
want them to know obviously that he's a firebender. And
Hmm.
also at this point, the audience, if you're watching this for the first time, don't know that it's Zuko. So like
Yeah.
it's trying to keep that mystique. But like bro goes hard with his swords, like his two,
He's
which also
so good with them.
his sword is crazy because it's like one but two. I don't know. I know that's
It's
an
one
actual
but two.
weapon.
It's
Yeah.
actually I put it in our notes. It's a they're Dao swords,
Okay.
Chinese Dao swords.
Yeah, I wasn't
Um,
sure of the name. They're sick though. They are.
they are so sad. Where did they're yeah Chinese Dao swords, or they're also called broadswords.
Interesting.
And then
Uh,
also the mask that he wears is based on Chinese Nuo masks. In case you
very
didn't
cool.
know.
Very there's a lot of really cool shots, specifically like close-ups of the mask throughout the episode that
Yeah,
just looks so good. Like it's such a cool
it's
design.
beautiful. I love it.
Um it's incredible. I see the notes now about the swords. I literally was like 2 lines away.
Yeah,
I
if
was
you read, if you read my notes,
if I could
thanks,
read, you
Alex.
know.
If you could read,
Yeah.
thanks.
But yeah, so we get the Blue Spirit coming in there and rescuing Aang, which is cool. He doesn't speak or say anything to him because obviously, as soon as he speaks, we would know that it's Zuko because he has a
Yep.
very distinct voice.
Yes.
So he's rescuing him, and they're starting to leave. We cut back to Sokka and Katara, who are completely delirious, and I love
I
that
love it.
Momo has just brought them treasures. Like he's brought
Treasures anything and
and
everything. Like he
except
understood the direction of go get us something, but he didn't
just
understand
completely
what
missed.
water is.
Yeah, missed
Yeah.
the point, just bringing them everything else, um, which is so fun. I like that they just keep cutting back to that for like just the slight comedic relief, and also like, hey, this is what these
Yes.
guys are doing.
Like they're
We
still
get
here.
yeah, they're still waiting. They're like, where's Aang?
Mhm.
Like, come on, man, hurry up. And then we come back to Aang, who's literally trying to escape from prison. Like,
Yeah, he's like literally he's on a whole side quest.
so we're back to the prison break, and we get just a really cool sequence. Well, one, we get Zhao like asking his assistant to write letters to the Fire Lord of his
I love
accomplishments,
that little bit.
which is so fun. Yeah, it's just such a like egotistical, like narcissist. Like
Yeah, he's like,
he's
now
like, oh
write
yeah,
to everybody that how great I am, and
yeah. He's like,
send a letter to the Fire Lord, and
make sure he knows I'm awesome. And then they get there, and the yeah, we find out that they're gone, which is great. And he's like, I like the assistant being like, oh, should I hold off on
do you
sending
want me to
this
still
then?
do this? He's like, obviously,
It's
like
so funny.
such a
Um,
Jason Isaacs villain. I love it.
yeah, so we get them fighting out together, and this part is like it's just a great action sequence. Like
It's
for
so good. They work
a
so
big
well together.
yeah, like for a big chunk of just the rest of the episode is pretty much like them fighting out and getting through here. There's a lot of really cool choreography here, and just like
Hmm.
them double teaming all the Fire Nation guards and like trying to get out. And yeah, it's great. Like I love the bamboo sticks trying to like climb. Though I like the way that they use one of the soldiers use the bamboo sticks to like get up onto the walls.
Yes, they
It's
like
super interesting.
they push it up against the wall, and the guy on the front like walks up the wall with
Yeah,
it.
which is wild.
I wonder
It's
actually if that's historically accurate, if that's something that was actually used. I
yeah,
don't know if that could work physics wise, but
yeah, it's wild though.
I
So
gotta look
like
that. I gotta look that up.
tons of really cool choreography and stuff there. And then they're trapped essentially, but they mentioned they need the avatar alive. So Blue Spirit is like, all right, well, I'll kill him if you don't let us go.
That was a
And
great
so,
idea. Love that.
yeah, Zhao's like, all right, like open the gate, let him through. And then because he's going to use one of the Yu Yang archer,
Mm-hmm.
Yu Yang, Yu Yang,
Yuyan. Yuyan.
Yuyan, one of their archers to take him out. And so we get them being far away, and then an arrow hitting the blue spirit's mask and knocking him out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when
So
Aang
sick.
sees that it's Zuko because he can see the scar, and then he takes the mask off and
Mm-hmm.
like fully sees that it's
Such a good
Zuko.
reveal. The first
Yeah,
time I feel like seeing that, it's so mind blowing and such a good reveal too. I love the way that they do it. I-
yeah,
And
it,
Aang's reaction and his decision to be like, do I leave him? Do I help him? Because if I leave him, like he's the villain, obviously, he's after me, but it's not in
yeah.
his
You can
moral
really
code to leave someone.
yeah, you can really he's like he just saved me. You can really see and feel the
Yeah.
like internal battle and like indecision there. And so he does get him, he leaves, and then we get to the scene after that, which we'll talk about later because there's a lot in that we want to get to
Such a
in one
good
of our
little
later
scene.
segments. But we have Zuko and Aang, because Aang waits for Zuko to wake up before he ends up having to leave because Zuko goes to attack him. Um, but so we
Hmm.
get that. We get them leaving each other and being departed again. Aang gets back to Katara and Sokka with the frogs
Hmm.
and gives them that as the medicine. Zuko gets back to his ship and is all pissy. He's very moody. He's like,
Very moody.
I'm going to bed, and it's like in the middle of the day.
The middle of the day. I do love it though. Iroh, it in this scene, it's revealed that Iroh has been playing. We've been hearing this Sungi horn the entire episode, and it turns out
Mhm.
that Iroh's been playing it the whole time, and I like that
Yeah.
little fact. Also,
So
next to Iroh is
mhm.
the monkey,
I was
the
about to mention this from
red-eyed
the pirates.
monkey.
Yeah. I
Yes.
was like, what? Okay. I mean, I liked the callback, but I was like, oh, that's cool that
But like,
he
what
grabbed
is
that.
that? Yeah.
So yeah, that's the episode. That's all of it. Um, you know, fantastic episode, top to bottom, really. Love that a lot. But
So
whenever
good.
we come back, we're gonna talk more about this episode and how it compares to its live action counterpart. So
Yes, we will.
we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Alex. Enjoying the show on the Aspect Network? Then you should check out my show, Philosophy of X. Each week, I pair an X-Men character, story, or concept with a relevant philosophical topic and explore how the two relate to one another. Join me on my journey to examine the world of X-Men through philosophy. And now, back to the show. Welcome back to Bending the Narrative. Each week, we dive into Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender live action series. While you can find our overall thoughts on the season in our very first episode, throughout book one, we will be discussing in further detail how each episode compares to its live action version. So, Kate, let's start with you. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I feel like with the Blue Spirit, they just copied it scene for scene, basically.
Kinda, yeah.
They copied the gist of it,
Yeah.
which I think works. I mean, it's good, so why not copy it for the
Yeah.
fame?
Yeah.
um, what I didn't like was how they incorporated it in the story. They started off. I remember in the live action, they started off with this is Aang going to the Fire Sage Temple. He gets captured by June, who we'll meet later, and then he gets kidnapped by Zuko.
Hmm.
And then Zhao takes Aang, and
Hmm.
then that's why Zuko becomes the Blue Spirit.
Yeah.
Pretty close to
It
what happened, but
it like makes the live action episode is so weird because a lot like because even if you capture like scene for scene as much as you can the animation to the live action, like the runtime doesn't match up, obviously. Like
Yeah.
the animation is 22, 23 minutes, and they have like 50-ish 55-minute episodes for the live action, so they had to like
Yeah.
figure out what the other half of it would be, because like obviously the Blue Spirit is one of the episodes that you're going to keep for the adaptation, because as we
Hmm.
discussed at the top, like it's one of the biggest episodes of the series.
It's so
um
iconic. Yeah.
yeah, and so they had to figure out how to do the like fill the other half of it, and they ended up using it, which like it makes sense to accompany it with like Zuko's origin essentially, and like making it a really Zuko, like this is in the live action,
Centered
this is where we
episode.
get most of his stuff from the storm, which we talked about previously. Like we get the Agni Kai, and we get this is where they do bring in the, which we already talked about, but the 41st division like revelation, which is super
Hmm.
good. Like that's a great thing, but like that's kind of how they build out the rest of the runtime for the episode, which again, it does like I could see how that works and why they made that decision. And then the main difference, they do still have like Katara and Sokka being sick. It's just in this version they're
They're in the
trapped.
spirit world, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
trapped in the
trapped in the
spirit world.
spirit world still, and so like Aang is trying to figure out how to save that, and that's why he goes to Roku and stuff, and that's how he gets captured. Um,
Hmm.
so like they kept the big, like you have Katara and Sokka being sick still, you have Aang needing to rescue them, you have Aang getting captured and put in prison, and then you have Zuko going to save them.
Hmm.
And so like I'm not like I think it works for the most part. It's just it's what they changed like in relation to the other stuff that makes
To
it
the
kind
other
of
stuff, it's
weird.
outside of that section. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Blue Spirit stuff they did pretty faithfully. Like they got the big hits there.
They
They
got the
got
bamboo stuff. They got them fighting together. They got the Dao swords, which was freaking awesome.
yeah, like
Um,
they got all of that. I'd say the one thing I guess that kind of changes is we don't really get like the Blue Spirit prior to Aang being captured, like his,
hmm.
because like you could tell at the beginning of the episode that he's like not trusting of the Fire Nation. Like that's a
Yeah.
like, or like at
He's
least of
already made
Admiral.
that decision.
Yeah, like he's already like trying to get the upper hand or undermine Zhao at the very least, right? Like he
Hmm.
very much is like, so we get that rivalry throughout the series between Zuko and Zhao, and so like you know you kind of lose that a little bit in the live action because he's not, you don't see him doing that prior to Zhao being like the Avatar's mine
Hmm.
now, like get
Yeah.
him. Like
Give him
um
over.
yeah, which is cool. They do though in the live action still make note of the Yu Yan archers. Like I remember them practicing and stuff, and
Yes,
like
they
seeing
do have
them.
them. They do have them in
Yeah,
that.
which is cool.
Which, yeah, you can't not have them in that.
Yeah, they're awesome. But that's when I think I can't remember which episode it was, but I mentioned Iroh's top knot. Is that that might have been a different thing, but I remember archers being in the tree and shooting his top knot off. And I know we've talked about that already
Oh,
though. Is there a site?
um,
Was that the Earth?
is that Jet?
Yeah,
No, is that Jet?
no, it wasn't Jet. It
No.
was the other Earth.
Oh,
Why did they do so
I
many
know what you're
things so
talking
many
about. I know what you're
times?
talking about. Yeah, but that was
But
used before. I think that bit was
yeah,
definitely used before.
um, yeah. So I mean, it's fine. Like having them show up is cool, and I like that they still have an emphasis on them. We get June a little bit early and like a little bit
Yeah.
differently. It's because they then acts like they don't do the fortune teller episode, which we'll talk about next week. But like
Hmm.
they don't do any of that stuff, which is when she comes in the animated series. Um,
They leave that out.
yeah, and so like it makes sense that they, the way that they incorporate in
The way that they
her in here. I'm like, okay, that tracks. Like the fact that she
kind of
gets to
fits.
Aang, and like that's how they get to Zuko, and then Zhao is like, "No, he's mine now." Um, so yeah, I mean, like it all gels sort of, but
It
I'm
like it
like,
works, but it's that thing with the live action. I think we keep going back. We're like, it works, but it's just not as
it,
good as the other way. We've seen it done
yeah,
really well, and so
yeah.
seeing it another way that it does work, but it's just not as good.
I can. It's the thing where like I can see how they got there, and why it fits based on all of the other decisions that they made. But it makes me go to the top and be like, well, why'd you make this decision
Then
though?
why'd you
Like
do
you could
this
have just,
though?
yeah, because
Yeah.
like by doing this here, it makes it to where you then have to do this here, and so on, and it just kind of is a
It
trickle
feels
down.
also. It just feels forced.
Yeah,
Everything feels all mushed together and forced, and They're like, oh, we
It's
can have her appear in here even though she doesn't have to be.
yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
then
she's great
why
though.
do it at
I
all?
love June a
Yes, the
lot.
actress is great.
Yeah,
She's
both
very cool,
versions.
which we will talk about her in the next episode. Or no,
Yes.
2 episodes. We talk about she comes in the next,
No one. It's
the
next
week
week.
after next week. No, Bato
Oh,
is
that
the water tribe.
Bato's the last
Next
one.
week is fortune teller.
Yeah, that's what. That's when. Oh, you're right.
No,
Sorry.
thank you.
I know.
Again,
Sorry,
I was
my bad,
just
my
not
bad. That
reading.
is in 2 weeks. My bad. Okay. No, yeah, but she's great. I mean, both the animation and live action version of June,
Are
amazing.
very awesome, kick ass, yeah.
Yeah, love to see her. But yeah,
But
it's
Blue
weird.
Spirit, I did like the Blue Spirit action in the live action.
Yeah.
The choreography
Uh-huh.
was really well
It's
done.
good.
I thought it was fun. I think that's honestly when they first pitched it, this is what they had in their minds. This scene alone, they were like, okay, I know what to do with this. I
Hmm.
think everything else they just wanted to get to this point and film this. That's what it felt like to me. This is so when
Yeah.
they first started, they're like, okay, I know what we're gonna do for this at least. So let's build up to them
Hmm.
fighting together. And it's Aang blowing the wind and all the soldiers out of the wall, you and
Yeah.
Zuko fighting together, or the
I
blue
mean,
spirit.
it's a great visual. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool. I also feel it's been a little bit since I watched the live action at this point,
Hmm.
but I can't remember how obviously they play that being Zuko, like whether or not, because I know it's obviously a reveal for
Mm,
Aang by the end, right? But like,
yeah.
I don't remember how much they like disguise that from the audience, whether or not, because I feel like
I wonder
because I feel like they know that most of their audience is going to know going
knows.
in that that's
Yeah.
Zuko. Like, it's it's just one of those things where I can't remember that because it's been a little bit, and it's also probably it's probably hard to separate um that from like the fact that I know that it's Zuko like while watching
Yeah.
going in and like seeing that as the first time.
I think they still covered it up. Um,
So I mean, it would make sense
I
for them
don't know.
too, because like there's
Yeah.
probably going to be a decent amount of the viewership that is not familiar with the animated series, obviously, because like this is
Hmm.
gonna because unfortunately, I think
But
we've
like,
talked about this before.
yeah,
A lot of people are like, animation isn't a real show.
viable medium. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so dumb. Like,
Stupid.
stop being a kid. Like, come on. Like,
Grow up. Grow up and watch
yeah,
animation. Grow up and watch
grow up and watch the
cartoons.
kids show. Come on, man. Like, um, yeah, it's
I
super
mean, I think
interesting.
they kept it the same because whether or not you know, it's still a good reveal.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. That's
hmm
very true.
um, but I do find it interesting too that this episode is it's the only
Action
other
one.
one that's the only other the live action episode. It's the only other one with the original creators are still credited. I think
Hmm.
it's along with also the pilot.
Yeah,
So I wonder if most of that is kept the same because they were like, it works. Don't Why
probably.
do you don't need to fix it if it's not broken. So I wonder if they kept it mostly the same. They kept that reveal. I don't think they would show that it's Zuko beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, I think we like this episode the most because the original creators are still credited. There's still some of their magic left over
Probably.
on it.
Yeah,
Gotta be
even
honest.
I mean, yeah, that is true. This is probably aside from the Co stuff, which is just weird, which we've talked about already. That because we talked about that during the Spirit World stuff.
Yeah,
Like aside from all of the Co whatever going on here and the Roku stuff being different here
being
too.
back.
Yeah, like I do because this is where we get we've been saying the Blue Spirit stuff is basically as close to a 1-to-1 as you're gonna get in this kind of
In
thing.
this series, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's good, and then also the 41st Division like Revelation stuff is fantastic, and like
That's new. That definitely feels like
it's
the
good. It's a
original
smart,
creator
yeah,
choice,
it's a smart change,
if I
and so
had to
like that
guess.
stuff's good. Zuko's backstory stuff is good
Hmm.
for the most part. We talked at length about our kind of
Yeah.
qualms with how
That's
they.
pretty much the same, yeah, except for Zuko fighting back, which doesn't make sense.
Well, check out our previous episodes if you
Check
want to
out our
hear whole
previous
rants
episode
about
about
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean it's
But what I
good.
didn't like about this episode was the Zuko and Aang conversation at the end.
Mhm.
Because
Don't
what
even
I love,
remember.
if
Can't lie.
oh, it's not memorable. It's just a bunch of talking. It's it's literally just it's so much dialogue that I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying anymore.
Yeah.
Because what I love with the animation at the end of it It's just Aang. Aang says a little paragraph.
It's
Zuko
like two
says
sentences. Yeah.
nothing. He says two sentences. He leaves. Zuko fights back, and with nothing being said, he like you see
Which
everything in his
yeah,
face.
which
You
says a lot.
get everything.
Sometimes
Zuko says
less is more.
nothing, and oh my god, if I could just slam that into the live action creators' heads, that less is
The less
more.
is more. Yeah, because doesn't I'm pretty sure this episode also ends with a voiceover and the live action
Oh
one
my god,
of
it
like
does.
Iroh being like, "Hey, audience, in case you didn't watch the episode, this is what
This
you
is what you just watched.
this is the
You
moral of the
you
story."
morons.
Like, which is
Hey, if you're brain dead and can
a
only watch
choice.
a 2 second TikTok, I have qualms about this. But
The light the voiceover narration to end the episode is just a choice that they
it's
consistently
just
made
a choice.
for
And you know what?
reasons, I guess.
We'll talk more in depth about the of this in our next segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up next, Alex and I will bring back our segment called "Whispers of the White Lotus." All right, we will be right back.
Hi, my name is Negan.
And I'm Bree. Enjoying this show on the Aspect Network?
Then check out Viltrumics, an Invincible podcast.
Each week, we go back and discuss your favorite episodes of the series and review new episodes as they release right on Amazon Prime.
Join us as we travel space, time, and the multiverse with Mark Grayson and discuss one of the most exciting superhero series on TV on Viltrumics, here on the Aspect Network.
And now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to Bending the Narrative. Today we are bringing back one of our favorite segments with Whispers of the White Lotus. This week we are going to discuss more about the final confrontation between Aang and Zuko and how it establishes their relationship for the rest of the show. Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah, so this conversation, this little scene, it's like probably not even a minute, honestly. I'm trying to think about
Not
it, and it's
even.
gotta be like 45 seconds or so.
30 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like you were saying,
If
like
that.
Aang has like a couple of sentences. It's just a paragraph. I know you wrote the whole thing down. I don't know if you want to be the one to quote that, but like
I wrote the whole chunk. It's my favorite sentence. For some reason, I love this moment. It shows so much about Aang and so much about Zuko, and it gives so much foreshadowing about what their relationship becomes and who they are deep down. Like, I like after. So Aang says, "You know, the worst part about being born almost 100 years ago is I miss all my friends I used to hang out with. Before the war started, I used to always visit my friend Kuzan. The two of us would get in and out of so much trouble together. He was one of the best friends I ever had, and he was from the Fire Nation, just like you." And then he goes, "If we knew each other back then, do you think we could have been friends too?" It like
my heart.
my heart,
It
my
hurts.
heart,
It
it
hurts so
hurts.
good. Like
And then
it.
Zuko immediately, he immediately bends fire at him. And then
Mhm.
we see Aang just
Leave.
peacefully
Yeah, he
bop
just
away. He
dips.
doesn't try to fight him.
Mm-mm.
He just leaves that little like, hey, maybe
Mhm.
we don't have to fight. And he lets that sit with him. And then you see Zuko like think about it for a second. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah,
What
and it
am I
just
doing?
it's God, there's so much good stuff there. It's like we were saying before the break, where like less is more, right? We don't get a
Yes.
back and forth between them. We just get Aang dropping that. But also Aang does the thing that like really wise people do, and the fact that like short stories are the best way to get things like to are the
Yes.
best teachable moments. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not him being like this long monologue about how like people who are on opposite sides like can and should be friends. It's like, hey, this is an experience that I had. Like this is me just like thinking on that and sharing that. And then like because it's in a story form and it's a real experience that he had, like that's something that
Mm-hmm.
stays with the audience, but also of course Zuko and will stay with Zuko and will bubble up and be something that you can imagine that he spends a lot of time thinking about and like reflects on that, and it's just like it's so good. Like it's such a
It's just so
great.
beautiful. And it's so perfect. I feel like this is wrapped up with such a perfect little bow.
Mhm.
It's not too much, it's not too little. It's just the perfect amount. This like I feel like too, even the words that they use, they don't even use they take out all these filler words. They don't elongate this. They don't
so
let this go
concise.
on for too long. It's to the point, it's concise, and it works and it hits. Because I mean, I know everybody knows it's made for kids, but they don't treat kids like they're stupid. They
Mhm.
understand that kids will get this.
That was I can't
Like
remember what
that's
I
the
was
most
watching.
genius part.
There was something recently. I don't remember if it was an interview that I read or I don't remember where, but they were talking about animated shows for kids, and
Hmm.
they were saying that like one of the most important things to do is to not treat it like don't talk down to them. Like you don't
Yes.
do that because you don't
I
need to
think
do
the
that.
show Bluey does that. They talk about the show Bluey and like genuinely they try to make it like they don't, because the plots are complicated. I know there's some things about the dads, I think the parents fighting or something, and
Mhm.
I don't know too much if there's any real
Bluey
Bluey fans
lore
out
people
there.
in the
Bluey lore people, let me
I
know.
wonder
But
what the
I know
Bluey
they talk a
and the
lot about
Avatar the
like they try to
diagram.
make it. They don't want to talk down to their audience, and a
Yeah,
lot of the reason people like it, and even the adults watching it along with the kids like it, is it's because of that reason. They don't talk down to their audience. They treat everybody as if they will understand
intelligently. Yeah,
intelligent, and they can
yeah.
understand and grasp it.
Which is important, and it's yeah, it's just such an important thing, and because kids are smart, like, and
Yeah,
also if especially if you want them to be smarter and learn, like talking down to them is not going to help that. And so just like write it well, write it sincerely, and like you're actually like as teachable moments and things like that. And
yeah,
this also too, like these couple of sentences give like that first like do you know the part about being born almost 100, the worst part about being born almost 100 years ago, like that also, like that says so much about like how much his age and like being a person out of time like weighs on him,
yeah.
which is something I feel like I know we talked about
He
it
doesn't talk
definitely like
about too much. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and we
never
touched
emphasized too much.
on it in like the first couple episodes because like obviously
Hmm.
he's like getting adjusted to the fact that 100 years have passed, but like
Hmm.
bro literally time traveled like essentially
Bro,
like I
literally time travel.
like I can't imagine like being in a coma for 100 years, like waking up like going to sleep and waking up 100 years later, like, and granted in this world it's not like there's been
Devastating.
like technological like marvels and
Advancements.
advancements,
Yeah, like he
yeah,
wakes up
like
in Korra's era, and
yeah,
that would be intense. Hmm.
yeah, so like there hasn't been that kind of like culture shock, but there's still
Not like
like
Captain America waking up in New York City,
yeah,
present day.
like a lot
Yeah.
walking around Times Square like what
So
the
what
fuck.
the fuck is this?
Yeah, like so like you don't get that, but the emotional shock still of like,
Hmm.
I mean, he was incredibly lucky that Boomy is still alive. Like there's one person that
That's
he still
insane.
knows, yeah,
Yeah.
which is wild, but like everyone you knew is gone, everything that you knew as it was is gone. Like that's something that a 12-year-old is having to come to grips with.
Yeah.
And like you get all of that built in baggage, for lack of a better, and like trauma, like
Baggage.
in
Yeah.
one line where he's like, the worst part about this, like I don't have my friends. And like,
Hmm.
oh, that hurts. Like that hurts
Oh,
so
oh,
bad.
that was right there. That was
Like,
right there.
cool,
If
thanks, man. Appreciate it. And like
thanks, man. I'm gonna
he
go cry in a dark room for a little bit. See you later.
and he's doing that in an attempt to like reach out and make more friends
My
too.
friends.
Yeah.
And he
And
doesn't
like,
say it like it. He kind of he's reflective with it. He's not saying it because he's sad and trying to get it out and trying to understand the feelings. It's
mhm,
like he already understands these feelings. He's already come to terms with it, and he's already like he's not mourning it in this moment. In this moment, he's like, "Hey, I am sad about this, but I've gotten over it, and now I'm using this as a tool to
trying to make
reach
another,
out,
yeah.
yeah, to help
And
other
like,
people," which
mhm.
speaks to Aang's character.
And then
And
and it
then,
hurts so much because whenever he gets back and Sokka's like, did you make any friends on your adventure? And he's like, no, I don't think so.
no, I don't think so. Ah,
Bro,
ah,
no.
another one.
He
And then I
did.
love, oh, because then there's so much about Zuko here too. Like I love that Aang understands that he can get to Zuko. It's just going to take time. It's not going to take one conversation or one little action.
Hmm.
And there are people like that where you have to, and like this is so reflective of the real world and a great lesson for kids and anybody watching this is making friends with enemies is not just a simple like let's be friends and it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Like he has to build that trust, and he's planting these seeds throughout the entire first season and
Yeah.
the second season
To
and the third season.
repeatedly.
That's not
Yeah.
until the end. Thinking, when do they get together? It's not even until the end of the third season, right?
Yeah, it's like it's like halfway maybe ish,
Halfway
somewhere around there.
through, yeah.
Yeah, well, like it's through repeated reaching out and
Effort.
action and
Hmm.
yeah, like yeah, effort. It's like him consistently being like, we don't have to be on opposite sides here. Like we can. There's a way forward that's good and healthy for both of us. And you really
Yeah.
like see that, and yeah, you get Zuko going back and being like, I'm gonna go take a nap, and then like turning his
Like the
back.
middle of the day. I love this. Symbolism is my favorite because Zuko is laying in the bed. He's looking at the flag of the Fire Nation, and he literally and figuratively turns his back to the map or to the
Mhm.
flag.
Yeah,
And I love
while he's
because
laying
like
there.
being the blue spirit and taking Aang away from the Fire Nation and that victory,
Yeah.
he betrayed his own nation.
Yeah, I mean, like if he wasn't a traitor already, like then he like
He
100% is
really is
now.
a traitor now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he completely, which is also really funny to think about the fact that like like Zhao doesn't know that that was him yet. Like,
Yes.
like he's just like, who the hell was this dude?
Like,
Like that
what the
just
hell
came
was
to.
that? What? We
Yeah,
have all these things out here. What is this planet?
yeah, like,
He's like, we've mowed down most of it. We've burned down most of the forests and eased
like what
most
is
of the spirits.
like what is going on here, man? Why? Come on, we had him. We had
Like
him.
now, we had the best snipers in the world.
Yeah.
I do love that.
But yeah, no, it's good, and it definitely it sets the stage for them eventually being on the same side and eventually being friends, and the fact that there is that option forward, and like the fact that Aang is like, yeah, like one of my best friends was from the Fire Nation. Like, do you think we could
Which is
like we
so
would have been
cool.
friends? And it's like, oh, well, you will be. Give it time.
We
Give it a
will
little
be.
bit.
But I do like it's a seed planted, and I do like it's a seed planted also for the audience to be like, oh, like
Hmm.
that's interesting. I thought in most shows the villain is the villain and the good guy is the good guy and that's it. And
Yeah,
I do like that this blurs the lines. It's gray.
it's
It
also I keep on having to like force myself to think about it from a first time view perspective because
yes.
like obviously we know like like Zuko's a part of Team Avatar, right? Like that's the like in
Yeah.
hindsight and like
We all know that happens.
we're however many years removed from the show now, like it's hard not to think of him as part of Team Avatar, but like I can't like watching this the first time in the like at this point in the first season, you're like, oh, like okay, this is interesting. Like they're not like maybe they could be friends possibly. Like that's
Yeah.
really like it's wild to think because even the first time that I watched it, I knew that Zuko like that he was on a redemption arc like in the
Yeah.
long scheme of things, right?
Hmm.
And like I'd seen art or whatever of them like working together and stuff. So I'm like, okay, like even in the back of my head, like I knew that that was a possibility. Like I can't imagine watching this as it aired and being like, oh, like
Oh yeah,
that's
and not
wild.
knowing anything. I
Yeah,
want to find somebody out there, a friend, or maybe even my parents who've never seen it and don't know anything about it. I'm like,
yeah.
I think I've convinced them now to have them watch it. I'm so curious about what their
That
opinions would be
experience is
and
like,
yeah,
yeah.
what they think is going to happen and what they think is going on.
Yeah,
It's,
it's so cool.
that would
They
be
were cooking when they made this.
they.
They were,
Yo, somebody let them cook. That kitchen's on fire.
in case you guys didn't know, we think
It's,
this show's pretty good.
pretty good. Not amazing,
Yeah,
but pretty good.
yeah,
I crack up.
it's good. They establish a lot here, and it really, like you said, seed planted. It grows a lot later on
It
as
grows a
the
lot.
show goes
Yeah.
forward. It's amazing.
It's just so good. So
Show, show
in the
good.
end, so good.
So yeah, I think that's basically all I had on that. Unless you had any more points you wanted to bring up besides show slaps.
Show slaps. I love the masks. I love Zuko in this episode. I love how complicated he becomes.
Hmm.
I love the message. Obviously, we love the message of
Always.
and I do like. I just want to rehash this one more time of him talking about like, oh, I was friends with somebody and he was in the Fire Nation, and
Hmm.
I feel like that's relevant. Oh my god, I can't speak.
We got
To
there.
any, and we got there one day. But I feel like there's in our
It's important.
time, there's always a war going on
Oh
in the
yeah.
real world, and there's always an enemy. I feel like especially if you're American. We're crossing into some dangerous territory. But I do like that they're like, you can be friends with people that you think might be.
Yeah. Not
On
everyone
this
is your enemy. Is the
Yeah.
you don't.
We can. It's possible.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the third segment, and that now brings us to the end of our show for this week. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in to Bending the Narrative. Next week we get our fortune told and fight a volcano. It's a lot of stuff going on there. So as we meet the fortune teller, but before that, Kate, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Kate the Official, and that's all. Where can they find you, Alex?
Great name. You can find me online at AP Batman with 2 T's wherever it's applicable. That'll be my at. Please be sure to subscribe here to The Aspect on YouTube and any platform where podcasts can be found. Please give us a like, leave a comment down below, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And you can also follow us on Twitter/X, Instagram, and TikTok at The Aspect Co. Thank you so much for listening.
Flameo, hot man.